Some of this has to do with overt contribution by the people who are documentarians. Part of the reason why I mention people that are in information science, which would include people like librarians, genealogists, archivists, biographers, historians, and other people who are associated with accumulating information about somebody's life, whether it's in the form of a biography or an autobiography or whatever. These are the people that are supposed to be the professionals, the experts on what the cumulative outcome and cumulative result is of a bunch of information compiled upon somebody's life that might define who that person is or is not. What happened with my generation in particular, because we were a very unique generation that was known to inherit the turn of the 21st century, people were literally still in the future. So all of the stuff that they were doing, all of the stuff that they were saying, it was about trying to steal the future. When you're talking about what it means in terms of value, your information is everything. And so within the information science component are journalists. And a journalist or a news organization or some form of an information system meant for television or televised broadcast, whether it's through a video, through cable, through the movie industry, through whatever means it is information that's meant to be associated with storytelling about somebody's life or something surrounding some issue. And so, as you can see, that would also indicate that people could coordinate specific times when they want to do a mass dissemination of information about someone or some specific issue at a specific time in history. So it can all literally be coordinated. You can decide when somebody's going to be framed. You can decide when somebody's going to be murdered. You can decide when somebody's going to be raped or anything. Or to the opposite extreme, you can decide when somebody's going to succeed or not succeed at specific points in time in history. In my local community, as far as African Americans are concerned, there are a lot of African Americans who have always been here and throughout this area and throughout this state, but not that many of them really did anything that's sellable. And so when you're talking about the ones who have done something that's sellable, whether it's on the good side of the equation or whether it's on the bad side of the equation, whether it's positive or negative, if they've done something that can be sold, then who owns that? Who wants to tell that story? Now, my experience directly was that a whole bunch of people were already here when I came here, amongst these people that are these documentarians. And they felt comfortable with the fact that they thought they could invade anybody's life, anybody's family, anybody's anything, and write it down as a document of what they claim to know about that person. But if somebody would have taken their life information and taken their family and written their version of what they want those people's lives to be about, and it was false, they would take issue with that. They would be angry. But that's what they were doing to everybody else here. Black people were completely being exploited. They were selling black people basically like they were slaves here, even in 2007 to present. Except the dynamic that changed was that either black people were also selling their own people, or the people that were part of the status quo were picking selective, specific, targeted, focused black people, tokens, to sell black people for them. See, Columbus made an investment in that museum in Washington for African Americans, the National Smithsonian Museum of History and Culture for African Americans. Guess what? Columbus was one of the pioneering investors. They made a corporate investment. Now, I just made this message specifically because we're going to cover these issues in some other pieces. I made this message specifically to let you know. They have been trying to create real people's lives through theater, through movies, through publishing, and more, without permission. They have been taking advantage of people's lives to exploit it for public and eminent domain, to treat it like public property without permission. And a lot of these people don't even have enough education and awareness to know that it's not supposed to happen. So what I'm saying when it's said and done in effect is this. Nobody here has any permission to be trying to document my life in particular. They don't even know anything about me. They have no rights whatsoever to my material. They don't even know me personally. They were using the press. They were using the library. They were using the public museum. And they were using the Muskogee County School District to compile information on individual people's lives. They were going to try to collectively take advantage of people's lives through publishing. Publish something as a group. Publish something as a city. Like, think about what it would mean if somebody's story that they're selling is by the people, by the city, by the group, so that no one individual or no selected individuals who actually stole something will have to be held accountable, because it will be impossible if the whole group invested in it. But even if it's a whole group, a whole city, a whole state, and a whole nation, you don't have a right to take somebody's property from them. Your intellectual property is your liberty. Now, who did they do that to? Why did they select those specific people? Because if you went to one of the prominent families and you attempted to do such a thing, they would raise holy hell. Why were they exploiting black people here? Why were they exploiting black history here? Did they have permission to sell what they were selling? If they have something to support this claim, this story, this falsehood, how did they obtain that? If they didn't obtain it through purchase or lawfully, how did they obtain that? So what if they say, well, their family gave us permission, or we got it from their family member? Your family does not have permission to take advantage of somebody else's intellectual or copywritten property. Your family does not have a right to give away your liberty. Your family does not have a right to give away your rights, unless you're in some position where you can't defend yourself or your liberty, and something about what's going on with you is a danger to yourself or society. So what they started doing, and they started practicing with this guy named Rusty Hauser, is figuring out how to turn a family against somebody they wanted to take advantage of. So they could make it seem like, well, it really wasn't us. It was a family issue, and we just came in and helped this family. My family has lived so sinful and corrupt for so long that they don't even have any validity. What was it about the people that they selected to try to do this to that was so important? When you find out, you're going to be shocked. No city is supposed to be taking advantage of people's lives for personal gain or for gain for a city at somebody else's expense like that. But that's what they were doing here. And I stopped them. And so they started demonizing my character and reputation, and they don't even know me. They harassed me every place I went. They followed me around all day and night, every place of business. And guess what? The stakeholders in the community, some of them were involved in what I'm telling you about. They funded it. And shame on them, because history is always going to catch up. Members of the press were contributing to it. Members of law enforcement contributing to it. Members of your city council and your mayor was contributing to it. And oh, will they tell a damn lie? Well, let's find out what happens when they're unsuccessful at taking advantage of somebody for the investment that they made. How are they going to justify what they put into those kinds of things? How are they going to recoup that? So when the movie theater chain ends up going under and a certain amount of other changes take place in this community, then what happens? So now they've brought AMC, which I have been told is a Chinese owned company, or at least some parts of its holdings is Asian. What is that going to mean for this community? What kind of new relationship are they trying to build under the table with the small Asian population that they have here? Who are the people here locally that are eavesdropping and spying on Americans and local people here in this community on behalf of the theater chain? And it's a wonderful theater chain. I've been using that theater chain for years. They're great. But that doesn't mean that everybody within the organization is ethical and moral and legal. So let me reiterate. Nobody here in this community has any rights to be documenting me. They don't even know me personally. What reason would you do that? They did it to Eugene Bullard. They did it to Carson McCullers. They did it to Ma Rainey, Blind Tom. Everybody's telling everybody else's life story except the actual people. I own my own life story. I own my own history. And if white people are going to be advantageous to themselves at the expense of what they claim is telling black history, they need to make sure black people get some of it. And black people need to learn how to tell their own stories in a quality way that are beneficial and is beneficial to the whole country. And stop dividing themselves amongst themselves, or these things wouldn't be possible. It's an impoverished place where it was easy to exploit human life. And the reason I did what I did was because I realized they were setting into motion the ability to be able to steal the future from another generation of people who would never have any knowledge or ability to be able to gain from their own life, because it would already be stolen. It would already be invested in. And there's something fundamentally wrong about that. All cities invest in their people. That's normal. But invest in your people does not mean exploit your people. You gain from your people, but your people don't get anything. And so there was a greater ill that was going on here. And to try to stop me from exposing this, they actually tried to criminalize me. I have not committed any crime in my life. If you find anything on my record or in my background, they put it there. They wanted so badly to make something be wrong because they said that I couldn't do what I did. They said that somebody that came from what I came from could not do what I did. They were willing to put something there. And then you might see a white person being a racist doing something. You might see a Negro, a black person, doing something worse to a black person than a white person in this part of the country. They had all these open and cold cases, all these missing people, all these white girls running around playing rape games. It was awful. It was horrid. And guess what? A lot of it is still going on right now. Because if they don't keep people in fear, claiming that somebody's endangered for some type of sex or some type of violence, they don't have anything to do with themselves. Most of these people that are at work around here aren't doing a damn thing, but sitting there waiting on somebody to walk through the door to pick on and harass so they can make it seem like they were doing something. When real crime happens, you're going to find out the majority of the time, police and law enforcement is nowhere to be found. But they're going to make news of every little person they can go out and provoke, pick on, hassle, harass, heckle, racially profile. That's what they're going to be busy doing. Circling around, wasting taxpayer money, wasting taxpayer gas and resources to harass people. And a lot of the people who are the stakeholders fund it. I had to put myself in a position where my value can come whether they support it or not. Because no black people here really have freedom and independence. They don't really have any self-reliance. They don't really have any real economic opportunity that they're not taking advantage of somebody else for. They didn't create anything. They're living off of people. It's like human equity that they're taking out without permission. You can't take human equity out of people and sell them like they're slaves. It's 2017. And somebody had to do something about it. How many more black men are they going to continue to exploit like this over the course of history? And so I wasn't going to let them. And then they try to demonize your character. But I don't care what anybody around here thinks about me in that kind of way. Because if they had a life of their own, if they had done something valuable, they could easily go tell their own life story and sell that. But they haven't done anything but stolen and live off other people's lives. And then some of the women that are the documentarians, not only will they steal from you, when you come and confront them about what they tried to do to you, they'll try to, oh, I'm a victim. I was afraid. I was so scared. Just this morning when I was on my way here to record this, a woman who attacked me a few weeks ago, unprovoked, and I didn't even know her name. She was stalking me this morning, hiding in the back seat of a car driven by a black man, trying to watch me. My own kinfolks doing this kind of stuff. They don't know anything about me. They're trying to come up with something that they can use to include in a false narrative that was manufactured. And if they ever do, they better be prepared to go to court, blood or not. Because I come from a sinful family that disgraced my grandparents, that disgraced an incredible history that came before all this. And I'm the one that did something to uphold what was really there before these people that were supposed to protect the history corrupted it. And so all of these documentarians and all of these people with these false stories and these claims of knowledge, they better be prepared for the fact that action is going to be pursued if they go try to write some false narrative, like some members of the press have done, some members of the genealogy, librarian, and other forms of information science here. They've done it. They've attempted it. They don't have that kind of relationship with me, I can assure you. And I have written a legal policy that states that clearly years ago, that is posted online so that everybody can see clearly what my intention is and was from the start. If you're a good person, if you're good people who have not included yourselves in this type of corruption, I am not speaking about you. I'm talking about the people who have corrupted our society, taken advantage of people, and disrupted our socialization so that everybody can have inclusion, liberty, and opportunity in this society. Now the press is trying to claim that they receive or are in fear or threat of something that's supposed to be existential because they don't have free reign to go take advantage of people like they used to without accountability. And so what are we going to do about this? Information, exploitation, and corruption by the press, even as the press wants the freedom to engage in their First Amendment right. You have a right to freedom of press and expression, freedom of speech and expression, religion, but you don't have a right to invade somebody's privacy, their life, and their liberty for that end. You do not have a right to manufacture the public right to know by manufacturing, staging, orchestrating, or organizing some event during specific times of history with and in collaboration with the law enforcement system, with judges, district attorneys, members of the library, members of the police department, with the mayor, with the city council. You don't have a right to do that. And so the existential threat that the journalists face who engage in that type of conduct, because a lot of them don't engage in that conduct, they have to be the existential threat to themselves for how they stole their way in at the expense of other people's lives and information for their whole careers. So they've run out of people to steal from. If they want to call that an existential threat, then they are an existential threat to themselves. I'm focused on the journalists of integrity, the ones who didn't do that, the ones who stand for what we want our news and information system and our entertainment system to really be about. See, they exploited our generation with tabloids, with the paparazzi, with runaway information that's politically motivated by politicians, by the legal procedure, by the law enforcement system. They exploited our generation. And everybody was willing to give up all of their personal information online. I never did that. And so there are only a few people that are left that are free. And when they don't know anything about you, they're trying to figure out how to invade your life, your privacy, or whatever. FBI Director James Comey just said that there is no absolute privacy in the United States of America. He said there's nothing that is beyond judicial reach, that some judge somewhere for some reason, if there is a justification, can't offer a warrant or permission for invasion by. Let me tell you what they can't invade. They can't invade what's inside you. They can't invade what you don't show them. They can't invade what you won't let them get to in the first place. People don't know what you have until you tell them. People don't know what you want to do until you show them. And that's the biggest mistake most people made. You ever have one of those people who come up and say, well, what do you really want to do? What is it that's really important to you? And you go telling them your hopes and your dreams. And they're like, yeah, and then they act like they're trying to help you get there. And all they were trying to do is find out what your mechanism was, What is your inspiration? What is your motivation? So I can stop you, so I can set up hurdles, so I can arrange some kind of way to lead you back to me, so I can sleep with you. Did you see what's happening at Fox News? I'm not trying to disparage any individual. I'm talking about the facts. Did you look? They were trying to demonize me because I came real, I came honest, and I gave women an awareness that they have never had at that news network. And damn near all of them are sleeping with somebody that's their coworker, or have slept with somebody that's their coworker, or have been in some situation where if they didn't sleep with somebody, they wouldn't have a job. If they didn't suck on somebody, they wouldn't have a job. And then they look for some person that's a reader or a viewer that they can use to divert attention and say, well, you're our threat. Creating media case files on people that they asked to participate. People that they make jealous. People that they inspire anger and dissent from daily. And then they go back, and the same women that are standing there promoting this agenda for them claim that, oh, well, he grabbed my bottom. He made unwanted advances. He tried to have sex with me. But before they thought they would lose something, most of them were game for it. They were going with it. So all of it was deception. And I simply came in and said, this network is in trouble. You guys have to correct this. You have to be confronted about this. See, these news organizations have caused a lot of the things that happen to people's character and reputation amongst the citizen population, but most people don't know it. I realized it because I was in journalism before a lot of these people ever got a chance. They just didn't know it. See, those news organizations are entirely dependent upon the people of this country and the people around the world. Without the people's information and the people's lives, the people's experiences, there is no journalism and there is no need for journalism. And so when journalism becomes corrupted, like I said before, and they start trying to act like they're celebrities, like they get to live on a different plane, like they're on a different plateau in a different world, where they get to celebrate at the expense of other people's lives and information, hell yeah, they're going to start creating existential threats because you're taking advantage of people. Because if somebody invaded the journalist's life, did the same exact thing, got into every inch of their life and became a stalking horse reporter towards the journalist, towards the general manager, towards the president of the organization, towards the CEO, towards the owner, oh boy, they would feel violated, threatened, and they would be looking for some action to be taken. I saw news organizations turn the entire law enforcement system designed to protect the people against its own people in the United States of America. That is not supposed to happen. I saw our political government in Congress fund news organizations to politically persuade people's psychology, to politically persuade the election, to politically persuade the law. That is not supposed to happen. So if you want to call that an existential threat, then so be it. But guess what? Those people have to be held accountable. And if you're going to be going off the air after you ruin somebody's life, trying to sleep with your coworkers, somebody has a right to say something about that because you're demonizing everybody else's actions through your news network. You're telling about everybody else committing sex violations, and you're doing it. So that's that double, triple, and quadruple standard. That's what they call that white privilege. Well, guess what? It's time for accountability. And if you want to call that an existential threat, go ahead. Either you get on board or you get off. Either you're with me or you're against me. Whatever you want to say. But it doesn't change the facts. And then they start threatening people. But they don't want to be threatened. And so who's going to confront threats made by the journalism community and organizations? Even if it's only by way of mass dissemination of false or bad or misleading, fictitious information, fake news. And so what happens when the fake news is plastered against the media instead? You go look through their life at their indiscretions. What did you do to get through the door? Who were you with? What kind of sex did you have? What kind of immoral acts do you engage in? What's your personal life? Oh, you guys are invading our privacy. Well, you don't have a right to invade anybody else's privacy either. I was just doing my job. No, you weren't just doing your job if you knew you were violating somebody. And then you turn off the programming. Switch over to the next network or whatever, and then you get off work and then go harass your own coworker. Go try to have sex with them. Or you use your sexuality as a woman to go entice some man into wanting you so you can set him up. Teasing. I might. Maybe. Well, it's okay. And then when your livelihood becomes threatened and your feet are back on the ground and you're in the position of the people that you put in that position through your network, through your journalism, oh, you don't like that. You've been violated. Hey, God bless the women who were really disrespected and violated. They deserve to be made whole again. But there are always some women that are going to try to take advantage of it. See, Hillary Clinton was going to cause some unique problems. And I love Hillary Clinton, but she was going to cause some unique problems. This was a pre-organized gender ambush that had been planned for 20 or 30 years. And she made a terrible mistake in disrespecting the men who helped get her there and showing outwardly what she was going to do to attack men if she was given the opportunity to be in that role. And just like that, it changed the course of what happened in both the Democratic and Republican Party. And we ended up with Donald Trump as the president to lead everybody into a direction that nobody could anticipate except for a few people like me. I've paid a price and I've made some sacrifices, but guess what? I didn't go into that hell. I didn't sacrifice my mind, my body, and my soul. I'm not hiding behind any clothes. I'm not hiding behind some salary because I slept with the boss, because I slept with the CEO, because I slept with all of these people at these parties and these events and these galas that I was invited to in the past. And then they gave me an opportunity because you slept with them before. You sucked on them before. That's what really happened. That's how a lot of them got in. And if they didn't do it, their mother did it for them. Their grandmother did it for somebody before. And they built a relationship based upon some intimacy. God forgive me, this is the truth. Then you find out these same people are in divorces. They're in child support court. They're doing all this stuff to be abusive to women. They're cheating on their man. The same things that they're condemning the rest of society for. And then they're hiding it within a news organization. I take issue with that. Back off. If you don't want no trouble, don't make trouble. Because now the public can disseminate your information just like you can disseminate the public's information for the first time in history. And you can't stop it. You need to be careful how you treat people. Because if you want to be empowered, you need to be empowering people. Because if you attack people, people are going to attack you. That means you created your own existential threat. This is The Thought Line. I'm your host, Reggie Radney, and I've got information for you.